Hello. Hey, what's up? Gonna play a bit of a Arcane before I start Genshin. Boop, boop. Mm. I'm lagging. Lagging. Hello. Oh my god. Yeah, I think I have to restart.
ここに正式に所属されたらサボりづらくなるよね。あ、どうも。
Something's wrong. Hmm. And there goes my Arknight. Again. Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Bum 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 bum. I can't get my game to work. Hi, human. You said you're gonna change your name. What happened? Okay, so Arknight is not booting up. I'm just gonna switch to Genshin. Bum bum bum. Ugh. So how's everyone doing? Two-step verification process nonsense. You don't feel like dealing with it. Don't give me that attitude. Get on with it. It's not gonna get itself done. You should get it done. Just start the procedure. No, it's not. If you want to get something done, you gotta do it. You can't just let it sit. You don't have a phone, so how can... What? You could always make a new account. I mean, that's one option. Okay, let's see if Genshin's willing to start up. Maybe use your original one then? Hmm. Um, I would go with Yelan first, then Raiden. Why? Are you debating who to get? Because Yelan Banner just came out last banner, so she's not coming back for a while. So Raiden would be next, and then Nahita. Or is it Nahita then Raiden? Don't worry about it. What? I mean, it depends on. I mean, if you're gonna go for build or team wise, and who's more important, I would definitely get Yelan first, then Raiden. But if you want Nahita, then I would get Nahita first over those two. So definitely Nahita first, then Yelan, then Raiden. But Yelan just came out recently, her rerun banner. So I guess um Raiden would be after. Why Miko? What was the third account? Right. Yes, I know there's a black screen. I'm trying to fix that right now. Yeah, I know you like Miko. Like, I want Miko too, but definitely not anytime soon. Dum bum 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 bum. Ba-dum. I'm gonna go to the teapot. Farm, farm, farm. Hmm. 4 hours? Oh my god. I was 4 hours too early. Which account? Let's see. Bun's done. Oh. Oh, I'm max. Hmm. I guess I'll log into that one later. I got too many counts. Bum 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 bum. Lots of carrots. Plant, plant, plant. Wee. Guess the audio's too low. That's everything. Yep. Nope. That's not what I want. Five days left to do the abyss. Time to just do the stupid 12th floor. Kind of forgot how I do this one. Hey, Echo. I'm gonna try doing the abyss 12th floor again. Trying to remember who did I brought last time. Um, Definitely I need a freaking pyro on this last one. Did it do super bloom in the first half? Huh. Dun 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 dun. But yeah, I think I remember. More or less, I remember. Bottom. No, I can do it without Shogun. Hmm. I think this is the one that I did. So I might switch that one out for maybe MC. Because I definitely need to pull these guys in. So that's annoying. I know. Oh, these are no good. Bum 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 bum. Wiki wiki.
この件はわかるかい歌い終わりねしっかり立ってな ちゃうかも。
Ow. Bum, 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 bum.
捕まえた。おとなしくしな、渚のリン。どの目が出るかね。
Gonna teleport back again.
覚えたわよ。はびこりなさい。パッチョ。と、痛がっちゃいないの。覚えたわよ。と、厄払い。
There we go.
風の赴くままにはっふっもみちがう散らまく惜しみ
You're gonna get closer to me.
みんながそばにいてくれれば風の行く先を
Oh my god, he hits hard.
炎組の剣燃えよそこだ。いやこんなの
Wow,
認めない。
that was a big hit. Okay. I hate it when they do that. Let's try this again. Now he isn't the
全
problem.
部丸見えね。終わりで撤収。捕まえた。歌よ西となれ。この剣はわかるかい。知識はあなたに邪魔をするな。やっはっいざよ工作せよ。痛がっちゃいないの。ほっせは痛くしちゃうかも。捕まえた。ほっやっさゆるか。雨描きがたしおとなしくしな。
あ
ぜダメかかれ。た終わりで撤収。痛がっちゃいないの。
Did you not? The second team had Ganyu Hu Tao. I don't think I used that. I don't think I used them for though. Right here.
風の赴くままに
Gonna get inches. What? I didn't reset.
借りなく時風を知れふっそれそこだ
願いを
みんなは俺が待っ
短所鉄拳ボーン食らえ。そこだほれは食らえよははトンはや
風の赴くまま
Get
に
closer.
ち
さ燃えよほれこの
みんながそばにいてくれれば風の行く先をいざ
Oh my god.
ボーン厄介なことに
え
炎組の剣。
風
Why are you so far away from here?
行くごとみんなは俺が守れくらえ
下がれ。
はっはっせいふっ雲なく借りなく時風を知れ全力攻撃だせい
信頼感度はっ
つ
Oh.
心配無用
Oh my god.
またかわせなかっ
Oh
た
my mother.
風の行く先を行こう天に召せ
燃えよそこだはびこれ。
I hate that. Spinny around.
私のお家にいらっしゃい。覚えたわよ。股間奥義動くこの剣はわかるか。トン渚のリン依頼パッチョ 僕がかかれ欲張れ糸よ工作せよはっセットはびこりなさいあなたの訪れは神卓が示している
Buy some pyro. That didn't reset.
みんながそばに
さ
燃えろ
ブンリスインよっトンさあほれそこだ
風の行く先をもみちろ散らまく惜しみ
芽生えよ
みんなは俺が守っ
燃えよほれふっさ
はっそれそこだ風の
Come on, reset.
行くごとくらえ
Oh my god.
みんながそばにいてくれれば絆
ブンそこだ行くぞ
せいはっそこだせい
短所鉄拳下がれほれやはそこだ
もみちろちくらえみんなは俺が守
Let's
れ
go heal.
信頼感度さくらえ
燃えろはっせいそこだ
燃えよ
Oh, double of this one. I'm gonna regret this one.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの一緒に踊りましょうあなたに雨描きがたし
Oh my god, he ran.
捕まえたはっ渚のリン痛がっちゃいないはっやどの目が出るか覚えたわよとかかれほっ私のお家にいらっしゃいはっ歌よにせはびこりなさいだね糸よ工作せよふっふっ捕まえたさあよいはっ痛くしちゃうかも知識を
Yes,
あなたに
come on.
股間をはっふっふっせや欲張れおっふっおいで撤収
Frozen is a bitch. Okay,
行こう
I got like 2 pyro, and hopefully this works.
マイはっ雲が借りなくてみんながそばにいてくれれば
下がれはっ炎食いの剣ほれよっそんないやくらえ燃えよトンほれよっいやそこだ
風よふっ全力攻撃
法令違反だほれ芽生えよさ
風の雲
そこだボンほれ
燃えろみんなは俺が
Oh,
はっせいはっ風よ
下がれ行くぞそこだ短所鉄拳ほれふっはっこの燃えよさ
マイはっ全力攻撃だもみちろち
やめくらえほれはびこれ
くらえ風よふっ
くらえ急ごうトンそこだくらえ
Ooh, almost died.
誤算だっ
Ah, I died. I was close. If I can get my rotation right. And it stopped hitting me for so much damage.
一緒に踊りこの件はわかるかい左右ルコ痛がっちゃうねかかるふふ私のお家にいらっしゃる邪魔をするな糸よ工作せよせやっはふさっはまだまだこれからはっはっ股間奥義形は精神と共にあれおとなしくしなやっせせどの目が出るかしらこれこそが知恵の伝道手をつなぎましょうさやさ全部丸見えねさ捕まえた雨描きがたし私のお家にいらっしゃ邪魔をするなはっはっ糸よ工作せよ痛がっちゃいねえはっ ほれ
風の歌雲の行くごと前
はびこれ
みんながそばにいてくれる
燃えよ食らえやほれ過ちを正さないと密縁イン食らえよトンほれ下がれそこださっ
はっはっはっせー
Oh, what the? Ugh. I was doing so well on that one.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの一緒に踊りましょうかかれ急がないはびこりなさい左右ルコ雨描きがどの目が出るかしらは知識をあなたにおとなしくしな学者のリーせ痛がっちゃいないはっせやっはっせ捕まえたはっ股間奥義全部丸見えねこれこそが知恵の伝邪魔をするなかかれ急がなくても終わりで
Ah, frozen bitch.
や左右ルコおとなしくしなさやはせ
Little over 2 seconds. That's okay.
燃えよほれくらえ
前それふっ雲の借りなく全力攻撃だせー
短所鉄拳そこだはくらえやよははほれ厄介なことにはっ
はっはっいざ燃えろ
ボンこのは
Nope, nope, nope.
びこれ
前せーみんながそばに
芽生えよ下がれはそこだ
風の歌雲の行くごと風よくらえ
Come on, keep the burn.
全力攻撃だせはっはっ
さやほれそこだそんな密縁インよそこだトンほれ
前はっそれふっ雲の借り
はびこれ
燃えろみんながそばに
そこだ
そこだ
信頼感度
くらえ
燃えよ厄介なことにボンほれ
燃えろ
さ
前みんなは俺が守れ せい。
もうええよくらえ
もみち
Oh, the pissing me off.
そこないや
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。
I need like to beat the first one 10 extra second.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの
動くべきだ。形を雨描きがたし。
しっかり立ってなやいパッチョ見たように知識はあなたにも痛がっちゃいないのいざよ工作せよでさあ痛くしちゃうかもはびこりなさい役払いこれからはっやっだね全部丸見えねかかれ五感奥義この剣は邪魔をするな渚のリン覚えたわよ終わりね撤収痛がっちゃいないのさあ私のお家にいらっしゃいはっはっはっ待ちなさいしっかり立ってなおとなしく捕まえたはっ歌よにしとなれはびこれくらえ
雲なく借りなく時。
ボンこのそこだ
みんなは俺が守れ。せい。
こんなの
Oh my.
認めない
Let me scrap that again. Why is my phone going off so much? Okay. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to abandon. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna choose a different team. No, not yet. There's gonna be a new patch coming out soon, so they're not doing any new event until the patch comes out, which is like tomorrow.
痛がっていないの。どの目が出るかしら。逃げ道はあります。ありうるか。はい。や動くべきだ。これこそが知恵の伝道。覚えた。雨描きがたし。糸よ、工作せよ。裁きの雷。はっ。お顔扇。稲光、すなわち永遠なり。はっ。ふっ。せっ。はびこりなさい。かかれ。捕まえた。この剣はわかるかい。はい。終わりね。撤収。見切りました。
So after Tuesday, when the patch comes out, there's probably gonna be some event.
怖くない。
風の赴くままに風の行く先をいざ風の歌雲の行くごと風の全力攻撃だ燃えろ
下がれ行くぞ炎風の剣ほれはっゆえぐい
それふっせえみんなは俺が
ブンくらえほれよはあくらえ
風を知れはっもみちが散らまく惜しみ
痛いの飛んでけ怖くない怖くない燃えよほれそんな
Oh my god,
全力攻撃だ燃え
hate
ろ
this one.
なんの風の行く
Also
先を
annoying to
動
do.
かないでねブンくらえリスインふっやそこだ
せいそこだ
Ah,
いざ
damn
風の
it.
歌雲の行くごとみんなは俺が守れ
燃えよ
They're so spread apart.
急ごう
まいそほれ
あくらえトン怖くない
はっせいはっはっやほれふっまいふっ風よはっ
Makes it really hard when they're that spread apart.
覚えたわよ
雨描きがたし歌よに
痛がっちゃいない糸よこうた裁きの雷無我の境地そこたっふっふった逃げ道はありませんこの剣はわかるかいやせ捕まえたかかれ終わりで
油断した股間を
は私のお家にいらっ裁きの雷
あなたの訪れは神託が示していた
せい
永
そこだ
遠のオアシスのために
雲が足りなく時
行くよイエベ
みんながそばにい
厄介なことに炎風の剣
定規のように
まいそこだ
燃えろやべそこだそんな
みんなは俺が燃えろ
Man, they all hit so hard. Keep getting staggered.
雲
ほれそこだ
はっそこだ風よせいはっみんながそばにいてくれるわ
ブン 動かないでね。
はっそこだもみちがち
あ、短所鉄拳。ほれ下がれ。くらえ。ほれトンよっ。よっ。あ、そこだ。
はっそれ
ゆえぐい出番だよ。痛いの。
せい全力攻撃だマイはっせい
燃えよ。トンくらえ。
くらえはっそれそこだ
そこだ。下がれ。ほれ
Sheesh. Good night, Nico. Echo. Sorry. Good night, Echo. Mm.
見切りました。手をつなぎましょう。一緒に踊りましょう。だって捕まえた。どの目が出るか痛がっていない。はびこりなさい。逃げ道はありません。ここより弱滅の時。邪魔者の粛清を。まだまだ覚えたわよ。捕まえた。終わりで撤収。裁きの雷。痛くしちゃうか。お顔奥義。これこそが知恵の伝道。痛がっていない。見切りました。覚えたわよ。ふふ。どの目が出るか。この剣はわかるかい。はい、歌よに稲光すなわち永遠なり。はっ雷鳴が止んでしまう。
Ugh.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの。一緒に踊りましょう。手をつなぎましょう。ふふ。裁きの雷。かかれ。痛がっていない。終わりで雨描きがたし。はい、痛くしちゃうかも。さゆる。ここより弱滅の時。だってふんやっはっせっ捕まえた。どの目が出るかな。覚えたわよ。痛がっていない。雨描きがたし。泣くと観客は痛かる。股間奥義。痛くしちゃうかも。知識をあなたにも。手をつなぎましょう。かかれ。勉強になった。稲光すなわち永遠なり。見切りました。さそこやっ。
Hey, Darkside. Struggling. It's all.
燃えろ風の歌雲みんなは俺が回す。
燃えよ。急ごう。そこだ。下がれ。よっ。くらえ。そこだ。は立命イントンボンよっ。はくらえ。
風よはっ
動かないでね。
はっ
そこだ。
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。風よ
厄介誤算。
Like, I can't get this last boss done. It's so annoying.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの。一緒に踊りましょう。いい観客になってね。どの目が出るかな。覚えたわよ。捕まえた。ここより弱滅の時。 裁きの雷。いや、少なくとも
手をつなぎましょう。
かかれ。
これこそが知恵の伝道。
この剣はわかるかい？歌よ日となれ。
痛がっちゃいない。終わりね。逃げ道はありません。無我の境地。はっふっやっさってっ。
いざ
This is like the only stage that is driving me nuts right now.
怖くない。
くらえ。燃えよ。くらえ。
もみちばを散らまく惜しみ。
全力攻撃だ。燃えろ。
おのふんの剣。下がれ。くらえ。トン、そこだ。いや、これ。
動かないでね。
くらえ。
参る。
法令違反だ。
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。傷なんて痛まない。
風よ。
Oh, my Yefan is dead. No wonder I couldn't switch.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？一緒に踊りましょう。かかれ。
雨描きがたし。
捕まえた。いざよ。工作せよ。裁きの雷。ここより弱滅の時。さっふっふっせっせっせっ。
股間奥義。
かかれ。
いや、痛くしちゃうかも。
この剣はわかるかい？
逃げ道はあります。
形は
どの目が出るかね。さっはっせっ。やっふん。
知識はあなたにも。
大ウルコ。
裁きの雷。せいと終わりね。稲光すなわち永遠なり。せっやっ
燃えろ。
風の歌雲の行くごと。
燃えよ。そこだ。
全力攻撃だ。
短所鉄拳。あ、よっこれ。くらえ。いや、そこだ。下がれ。ほれ。
はっそれ。
怖くない。
くらえ。
へっとん。くらえ。あ、そこだ。ブン。くらえ。
風よ。
せーの。
みんなは俺が守る。
もみちばを散らまく惜しみ。
動かないでね。
燃えろ。
いや、こんなの。
Oh my god. Fuck it. I need a shield. I need a better shield. Goodness, not gonna work.
つなぎましょう。
捕まえた。どの目が出るかしら。見切りました。無我の境地。ふんしてやっふんそこふっはったっと歌よ錦となれ。雨描きがたしはっ動く。痛がっちゃいないの。かかれ。
終わりで
やっ
はびこりなさい。私のお家にいらし
裁きの雷。
痛くしちゃうかも。
てったふんこの件はわかるかい。
風の赴くままに風を知れ。雲がく借りなく時風の行く
天道万象剣女盤石。
ご安心を。
ブンそこな。水インそこな。ふっははくらえ。下がれほれ。さあくらえ。
Wait, what? How did I miss one?
そこだ。ふっよっとんそこだ。燃えよ。
難攻不落。
はほれ。
風よ
はっやよっ下がれくらえ。はそこだ。短所鉄拳やくらえ。よっとんそこだ。
岩山八九。
もみちがお
ご助力を。
はくらえ。やよほれ。はそこだ。ブン
風の赴くままに
天道ここにあり。剣女盤石。
急ごう。下がれくらえ。
参る。はっそこだ。
ブンそこだ。
雲がく借りなく時風
ご安心を。
トン水イン燃えよ。よやくらえ。はよははそこだ。ほれ。
天道万象霹靂。
風よ
ブン
Motherfucker.
急がなくてもいいのよ。
覚えたわよ。これこそが知恵の伝道。
雨描きがたし股間を捕まえた。糸よ工作せ逃げ道はあります。せははやはせふっいつあら
はびこりなさい。
たはさゆるか。裁きの雷。やた
終わりで覚えたわよ。さあと私のお家にいらっしゃい。
捕まえた。は見切りました。歌よ錦となれ。
風の行く先をもみちがお散らまく惜しみ風を知れ。
Where's the last one
ソ
at?
ーランド行こう。
燃えよくらえ。
風の赴くままに風の行く先を
天道ここにあり。岩山八。
炎食いの剣くらえ。急ごう。やトンそこだ。はやほれ。行くぞよそこだ。下がれほれ。
はっはっ
トンそこだ。
剣女盤。
や
ボンやほれよトンはくらえよや
岩山八九。
下がれほれ
風を知れ。そこだ。風の歌、雲の行くごと。風の行く先を。
ご助力を。
くらえ理性イン
天理チョーク。剣女盤石。
はっしいざ風の赴くままに。
はほれ
Oh my god, the mage is so far away.
裁きの雷
知識をあなたにも痛くし。
糸よ工作せかかれ捕まえた股間奥義逃げ道はありませんせ
やあはびこりなさい。
この剣はわかるかいかかれや
終わりで撤収。
はっ見切りましたはっやサリュール痛がっちゃうよ
痛くしちゃうかも。覚えておく。
はっはっふんはっはっ
難攻不落。
風を知れ。ふっもみちばを散らまく惜しみ。風の行く先を。そこだ。風の赴くままに。
短所鉄拳ボーンそこだ
揺らぐことなし。天道ここにあり。
トンよほれ燃えよそこだやほれふっ
風よ。
剣女盤石。
トンそこだよほれボーンそこだはほれ
風の歌、雲。
そこだトンほれ下がれよやはあは
岩山八九。
はっはっ風を知れ。ふっ
炎吹いとけ燃えよそこだくらえ行くぞトン
し雲がく借りなく時。そこだ。
ご安心を。
天理チョーク。
ボーンそこだ
風の赴くままに。
くらえ下がれほれくらえよほれそこだボーンやくらえ
はっせいはっはっもみちばをち。
下がれそこだ
ご助力を。
理性イントン
Now I'm lacking power.
はびこりなさい。
歌よに裁きの雷糸よ 工作せよ。急がった。かかれ。
これこそが知恵の伝道。
見切りました。せい知って痛がっちゃいない。終わりで股間奥義。
痛くしちゃう。
稲光すなわち永遠なり逃げ道はありません。ストップ。よし。
行こう。
剣女盤石。
風を知れ。そこだ。風の赴くままに。風の歌雲の行くごと。
天道ここにあり。霹靂戦。
燃えよ。そこだ。炎軍の剣。行くぞよ。ほれ。やトンくらえ。ほれ。よ。厄介なことにボンくらえ。急ごう。ほれ。やはそこだ。よ。やさあ。
風の行く先を。
Get in
ソー
closer.
ランド行こう。
もみ違う。ち
新天道地天理チョーク。
はっそこだ。風を知れ。
くらえ。
と雲がか
岩山発。
見つめイン。ほれ。はそこだ。
参る。
天道ここにあり。
せいはっ風よ。ふっ風の歌雲の
ご助力を。
揺らぐことなし。
くらえ。トンそこだ。やよくらえ。はトンはそこだ。
難攻不落。
はっそれ
燃えよ。ほれ。よそこだ。短所鉄拳くらえ。
Finally.
見切りました。
私のお家にいらっしゃい。覚え。
雨描きがたし。捕まえた。痛がっちゃいない。糸よ工作せよ。だ左右ルト。よし。
痛くしちゃうか。
はっせー。ここより弱滅の時。ふっふっさっはっせっふっふっはっはどの目が出るかな。そうかかれ。
覚えたわよ。
股間奥義。はっ裁きの雷。ふっあなたの訪れは
剣女盤石。
示していた。
ソーランド行こ
永遠のオアシスの
せい
ために。
はっ風よ。ふっ雲が借りなく時。
ボン
天理チョーク。難攻不落。
はほれ。いやくらえ。燃えよ。ほれ。ふっよそこだ。
はっそこだ。ほれ
う。ご助力を。
霹靂先陣。
はボン
剣女盤石。
風の赴くままに。はっ
はあ。
天道ここにあり。た難攻不落。
風の歌雲
下がれ。ソーランド行こう。
炎軍の剣。トンくらえ。そこだ。いやくらえ。ボンはトンほれ。そこだ。
参る。ふっ風よ。そこ
岩山八
いや、ご助力を。
ほれ。いやそこだ。
参る。
せ揺らぐことなし。
燃えよ。よトン急ごう。
新天道地。
もみ違う。ち
ソーランド行こう。
ボンくらえ。
盤石。
はっ
そこないやさあくらえよブンほれ
ご助力を。
そこな短所鉄拳ほれはくらえトンそこないやよくらえそこなあなたも一緒に踊りたいの一緒に踊り逃げ道はあります捕まえた
終わりね。
撤収痛がっちゃ嫌よ
ははびこりな。
この剣はわかるかい稲光すなわち永遠なりふんはっやっふんて見切りました
手をつなぎましょう。
どの目が出るか少なくとも観客を
全部丸見えね。これこそが知恵の伝道。
歌よ錦となかかれ逃げ道はありますかここより弱滅の時はっやっひゅっふんしったやっふん
難攻不落。
はっはっはっ
ご安心を。
トンや
天理チョーク。剣女盤石。
風の歌雲
燃えよよトンくらえそこなはよくらえやほれ
難攻不落。
それ風よはっ
ブンくらえトンはほれ
剣女盤石。
はっ
燃えよくら
よっせいそこだ雲の仮
えほれ下がれ
岩山八九。
立インいやそこだはトンほれ燃えよそこだいやほれ
ソーランドイ。
はよそこだトンはほれ下がれそこだ
天道ここにある。難攻不落。
はっはっ
ほれブンくら
ご助力を。
えよほれそこだほれ法令違反だ
剣女盤石。
そこだくらえトンほれ下がれ短所鉄拳そこだほれそこだ
恐るるに足らず。難攻不落。
Still not gonna work. Actually, I'm gonna wait until Hu Tao banner comes out. Then I'm gonna try again.
星としこの同点も同点につ
This is gonna take forever.
行きましょう。
Hmm.
裁きのいか痛がっちゃいないの。ふっふっはっふんよっ
手をつなぎましょう。終わりです。
はったっふっはっ
覚えたわよ。はっ
風を知れ。
師匠の技を食らいなさ。部外者禁止。
そこだ。はっ、ほれ。もみちばを。ち。
この仕事は排除するべきですね。
天道万象。
よっ。
見切りました。
知識はあなたにも。ふふ。
この剣はわかるかい？左右ルク。どの目が出るかな？稲光、すなわち永遠なり。
全部丸見えね。
捕まえた。痛がっちゃいないの。
私のお家にいらし。
逃げ道はありません。相関結晶。
いざ。
熱々でしょ。
風の行く先を。
剣女盤石。
部外者禁止。元王帝君のために。
風の歌、雲の行くごと。
天理チョーク。岩山八九。
お触り禁止。
風の赴くままに。
料理の時間だよ。
風を知れ。はっ。もみちばを。ち。
天道ここにある。
部外者禁止。糸よ、工作せよ。はい、この剣はわかるかい？歌よ錦となれ。ここより弱滅の時。はっはっ。
それ、そこだ。
話が通じないなら叩くも。
風の歌、雲の。風の行く先を。
風雪の縮図。
や。
はっは。天道万象。
風の赴くままに。
裁きの雷。
手をつなぎましょう。
大ウルコ雨。どの目が出るかな。捕まえた。いや、逃げ道はありません。はっ、やって。おさわり禁止。
参るせいはっ。
師匠の技を食らいなさい。
この仕事は排除するべきです。
もみちが散らまく惜しみ風のゆ
天理チョーク。
相関化粧。かかれ。
全部丸見えね。
糸よ、工作せえ。歌よ西となれ。この剣はわかるかい。裁きの雷。ふっせえ。ふん。やっふん。と捕まえた。見切りました。
手をつなぎましょう。
はっはっ。左右やって。はっふん。だっはっ。
し風を知れ
部外者禁止。
せいそこだよっと風の歌雲の
剣女万丈。
おさわり禁止。
ここまで。
逃げ道はありません。終わりで撤収。雨描き。しかし股間奥義。稲光すなわち永遠なり。はっ。
風の行く先を
相関化粧。瑠璃のように落ちなさい。
天道万象。
クオパー火を吹け。話が通じ。
風よ
部外者禁止。この仕事は排除するべきですね。
風を知れそこだ
天理チョーク。
風の行く先を。
相関化粧。
風の赴くままに雲が仮
部外者禁止。
天道ここにあり。
風雪の祝福。
風を知れ。はっ。
相関化。
マイ
部外者禁止。裁きの雷。糸よ工作せよ。
手をつなぎましょう。これこそが知恵の伝道。
かかれ。
歌よ錦となれ。
無我の境地。逃げ道はありません。はっひゅっとはっはってっ。
私のお家にいらっしゃい。痛くしちゃうかも。
どの目が出るかしら。見切りました。はっ
股間奥義。
形はくっはっはっ。
全部丸見えね。
終わりで撤収せいや。
海うる。
ここより弱滅の時。裁きの雷。ふんはってってっはっやってっひゅってっはっせやっ。
知識をあなたにも覚えたわよ。と
はっ。
雨降る風の中。
熱々でしょ。
元王帝君のために。
もみちが散らまく惜しみ。風の赴くままに。はっ。
天道万象。難攻不落。
師匠の技を食らいなさ。
せっはっ。相関化粧。
風を知れ。
天道ここにあり。
雲が仮。
瑠璃のように落ちなさい。部外者禁止。やっ相関化粧。見切りました。
この剣はわかるかい。股間奥義。
どの目が出るかしら。た捕まえた。逃げ道はありません。稲光。 すなわち永遠なり。たったっやっかってとっはっせやかかれ。
雨描きがたし歌よ錦とな。
全部丸見えね。
糸よ工作せよ。無我の境地見切りました。やっさっひゅっふんはっ
ふふこれこそが知恵の伝道。はびこりなさい。
と裁きの雷
さゆるか。
稲光すなわち永遠なり。しひゅっはっさっさどの目が出るかし
この剣はわかるかい。
Ooh, I'm in trouble. I hope my writing has enough HP.
今回は大物が釣れたよ。
風の赴くままに。
部外者禁止。
天道万象。
風よ。
料理の時間ね。
お触り禁止。
この方のお主。
話が通じないなら
風の歌雲の行くごと。
風雪の縮図
風の行く先を。
相関消し。
天理チョーク。
せっ
ここだ。
手をつなぎましょう。
痛がっちゃいないの。せい糸よ工作せよ。かかれ。
他奥義。
知識をあなたにも痛くしちゃう。
逃げ道はありません。無我の境地はっせっやったっふっはっそこふん見切りました。やって痛がっちゃいないの。さ
転ばぬ先の杖というように事前に準備しておけば混乱を招くことはありません。 天道。
海ウルコどの目が出るかしら。捕まえた。裁きの雷。
覚えたわよ。はっほっふっささふ
稲光すなわち永遠なり。はっはっせっはっせっ糸よ工作せい。動くべきだ。歌よ日となれ。痛がったよ。そう
ほっはびこりなさい。痛く
逃げ道はありません。
行こう。し行こう。もみちを散らまく押し
剣女盤石。
風を知れ。
師匠の技を食らいなさい。
みんながそばにいてく
天道ここにある。
せいはっ
揺らぐことなし。や
料理の時間だよ。
やいざ参る。そこだ。それ雲が借りせい
それはっ
岩山八九。
くらえ。全力攻撃だ。燃えろ風よ。
天道万象。
よっせい参る。風の雲
ルオパーよ。
燃えろ。
せ新天道。
風よ。そこ参る。はっ
それ
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。風よ。はっそこだ。とよや風の赴くままにもみちを散らまく惜しみ。
天道ここにある。難攻不落。
料理の時間だよ。
くらえ。はっ
はっやや
と参る。風の行く先を風の歌雲の行くごと風の赴く
師匠の技を食らいなさい。
みんなは俺が守れ。せい
天道万象。
風よ燃えろ。は
熱々でしょ。
っそれはっはっこれもみちがち
揺らぐことなし。
くらえ。
料理の時間だよ。
風を知れ。そこだ。
剣女盤石。
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。傷なんて痛まない。風の赴くままに
熱々でしょ。
見登録。雨描きがたし。この剣はわかる。どの目が出るか書かれて。ここより弱滅の時裁きの雷。ふっふっ海ウルコ
覚えたわよ。知識をあなたにも。
痛がったり。はっはっ糸よ工作せい。ふっふっふっ鎖の立ち木雨描きがたし。ひゅっ
と痛くしちゃうかも。
ふっふっふっと
行こう。
あなたの訪れは
難
神格が
攻不落。
示している
燃えろ。
永遠のオアシス。
風の行く先を風よ。はっ雲が借り
天道ここにある。
料理の時間
盤石。
マイル、そこだ。
みんなは俺が守れ。燃えろ。
風の赴くままにもみちばをちら
熱々でしょ。
難攻不落。
はっそれはっせえそこだはっいざ
天道万象。みんながそばにいてくれるわ。
風を知れそこだ風の行く先を雲が仮な
話が通じないなら叩く。
風を知れそこだ
冒険だ。はっすっふん隙あり。
はっふっ風の歌雲
燃えろ。
せいそこだ
熱々でしょ。
はっ風の赴くままに
みんなは俺が天道ここにある。
よっふっと風の行く先をし雲なく仮なく時マイルはっふっ
新天道地天理チョーク。
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？一緒に踊り
全部丸見えね。手をつなぎましょう。これこそが知恵の伝道。全部丸見えね。
歌よ錦となれ。かかれ、急がなくどの目が出るか逃げ道はありません。無我の境地。胸無臭。
Ah.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？一緒に踊りましょう。いい観客になってね。糸よ、工作せよ。捕まえた。
知識をあなたにも。
動くべ大ウルコ裁きの雷。はっ稲光、すなわち永遠なる。内面は病んでしまいます。
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do it without HP.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？かかれ、踊りましょう。
と手をつなぎましょう。
捕まえた。逃げ道はあります。股間奥義、この剣はわかるかい？
全部丸見えね。
終わりね。鎖に断ち切る無我の境地。はっやっふっはっやっ。裁きの雷。
覚えたわよ。
雨描きがたし。少なくとも観客はいたか。
手をつなぎましょう。これこそが知恵の伝道。
大ウルコどの目が出るかかれ。はっ見切りました。稲光、すなわち永遠なり。はっはっはっはっ。
これほど美しき景色を見れば おのずと旅がしたくなるものであろう。
岩山発
料理の時間だ。
風よ、
そこだ。ふん、隙あり。
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。マイル、風の歌、雲の行くごと。
はい
はっせいふっ風よ、はっせい。
ルオパー火を。
天道万象。ふっはっくらえ。みんなは俺が
マイル、よ雲が借りなく。
揺らぐことなし。
風よ、
師匠の技を食らいなさい。
難攻不落。ふっへねくらえ。
熱々でしょ。
やマイル、
そこだ。全力攻撃。
それはとりゃ。
霹靂先陣。
はっそれはっ
燃えろ。
もみ違う散らま。
料理の時間だよ。
天理チョーク。岩山八九。
風よ、
そこだ。
みんながそばにいてくれるわ。マイル、はっはっよっふっほれふっそれふっはっ
熱々でしょ。
雲が借りなくとき。
難攻不。
かけっこし。
くらえ。
はっはっふっよっふっ風よ、一点集中。
揺らぐことなし。天道万象。みんなは俺が守れ。くらえ。
はっまことにいいか。
Oh no.
はっ隙あり。ふんや燃えろ。冒険だ。
話が通じないなら。
全力攻撃だ。岩山発。
は
せややせへ燃えろ。
それはや
隙あり。
みんながそばにいて。
天理チョーク。
Yeah, I'm not gonna make it.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいな。一緒に踊り。
裁きの雷。知識をあなたにも手をつなぎましょう。終わりです。撤収。痛がっちゃいない。
この件はわかるかい？股間を。
ここより弱滅の時。よっ、はっ、はっ、はっ。
浮世の夢のごとし。
Oh my god, I got hit. That was a good one too.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？一緒に踊りましょう。開演したばかりだよ。
手をつなぎましょう。
捕まえた。かかれ。はい、うるさ。雨見切りました。糸より工作せよ。
これこそが知恵の伝道。
胸
Oh my god.
無臭。
Bitch.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？一緒に踊りましょう。捕まえた。
私のお家にいらっしゃい。ふふ。終わりです。
無我の境地。裁きの内面は病んでしまう。あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？一緒に踊りましょう。かかれ。痛がってない。見切りました。はい、うるさ。
知識をあなたにも。
よっはっ。どの目が出るかね。稲光、すなわち永遠なり。浮世の夢のごとし。
HP is just too low.
あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？逃げ道はあります。
私のお家にいらっしゃい。
捕まえた。糸よ、工作せよ。雨描きがたし。ここより弱滅の時。はっふっ。胸無臭。あなたも一緒に踊りたいの？
全部丸見えね。
裁きの雷。
手をつなぎましょう。知識をあなたにも。
かかれ。どの目が出るかね。急がなく。見切りました。無我の境地。はっ。やっ内面は病んでしまいます。
I need a healer. I need a fucking healer.
いらっしゃい。
逃げ道はありません。稲光すなわち永遠なり。そこ雨描きがたし耐えうるか。
はびこりなさい。ご安心を。
裁きの一
痛くしちゃうか。
形は精神と共にあさ
覚えたわよ。と
歌よ西となれ。逃げ道はありません。
痛くしちゃうかも。
やっ
ソーランドイコ。
裁きの雷。
風を知れ。そこだ。風の歌、雲の行くごと。風の赴くままに。そこだ。
ライト
全力攻撃だ。
元王帝君のためにお触り禁止。部外者禁止。
サプライズ。
風よ。
お触り禁止。部外者禁止。相関化粧瑠璃のように落ちなさい。
雲が借りなく時。はっせえ。みんなは俺が
冷静に。
はっせい。ふっ
お触り禁止。
くらえ。
マジックスタート。
へっせえ。風よ。もみ違う。散らまく。
相関化粧。元王帝君のために。よっ
ちょっとしたトリック。
想定内の。
Wow.
不運だ。
逃げ道はありません。
知識をあなたにも。
耐えうるか。見切りました。
ご安心を。覚えたわよ。
ひゅったやってはっ逃げ道はありません。はっ歌よに
ソーランドイコ。
見切りました。ここより弱滅の時。そってはっやっ
サプライズ。
風の行く先を。はっ雲が借りなく時。はっふっ。
こちらに注目。
瑠璃のように落ちなさい。部外者禁止。
ちょっとしたトリック。
風の赴くままに。風を知れ。はっ全力攻撃だ。くらえ。風の歌、雲の行くごと。
サプライズ。
お触り禁止。
参る。はっ、
ここよ。
部外者禁止。
雲なく借りなくと。
お触り禁止。
ちょっとしたトリック。
はっはっ、そこだ。
マジック失敗。
I can't do this.
ないわ。た血で血を洗おうかしら。無駄な努力をやめたら諦めなさい。
強行俺につけ。
はあ、メイン答えよ。戦場のお掃除の時間です。はっはっやっ
無駄な努力をやめたらたやっその命いただいたわ。
いざさっき俺様に任せろ。お前の出番だぜ。どりゃあらどりゃあらはあらはガン闘牛疑似ようか。剣女万
塵となれ。もちろん
異形を見届けよ。
せん創世の術。
す
私の可愛い
難攻不落天道万象。器用の怒りだ。砕きやがれ。どりゃあらどりゃオラオラオラはっきゃふっはっあらお前の出番だぜ。岩山は
震えろ。こうせ。冥王牽制へ。
ガン闘牛。
岩の重さは
血人
チャック一個先。
無駄な努力をやめたら
神宮血人先生こっちで。
メイン答えよ。チャック
取るに足らないわ。さようなら。諦めなさい。
強行。
チャック騎士の風格に気をつけます。任せてください。えいやっはっ
血人厚くのごとし。
はあ肉力と
無駄な努力をやめたら降参しなさい。取るに足らないわ。やっ
神宮
一個先。
俺につけ。
無駄な努力をやめたらさようなら。諦めなさい。
やるよ。メイドの礼儀に気をつけます。はっはっはっ
血人
チャックメイン答えよ。
やったったやっ
先生こっちで。強行
降参しなさい。無駄な努力をやめたらはっ
岩の重さは安心。
神宮
チャック
諦めなさい。取るに足らないわ。やっ
血人
その命いただいたわ。
天理チョーク。
一緒に踊りたいの？一緒に踊りましょう。
神軍俺につけ。
一個先。
三角になってね。
綺麗にしませんと戦場のお掃除の時間です。これで間に
これから
任せてください。
血人。
さようなら。ステップは軽快に。
強行。
少なくとも観客はいたから。
神軍と。
無駄な努力をやめたらその命いただいたわ。
八九のこと。
肉力とメイドの礼儀に気をつけます。やっ
いざ。創世の。はあ。こちら。鬼の狂気ランプ。砕きやがれ。あら。どりゃ。あら。は。おらおらおら。一人お前の出番だぜ。どりゃ。天道万象。酒。こせ。よっは。剣女盤石。異形を見届けよ。疑似妖怪。はっ。ちりとなれ。俺様に任せろ。はっ。どりゃ。はっ。あら。どりゃ。あら。はっ。砕きやがれ。あら。おらおら。天理チョーク。酒冥王牽制へ。こせ。
Think you can get away? Brace yourself. Animal hypostasis emulation. Animal tech 6308.
Into the wind. The wind knows me.
Absorption test.
Wind strike.
Yahoo! Go as fast.
I swear by my sword.
One with nature. Falling leaves adorn my night. The wind knows me. Storm Fury.
I'm out of here. Come on out. Jump on up. Over here. You me. Have fun with this gift.
The wind rises.
I swear by my sword. Animal test 6308. Think you can get away? Let's play.
Fallen leaves. Adorn my night.
Animal hyperstasis. Ha! Here we go. Go and fly. Wait, here. Time for takeoff.
Wind strike. As one with wind and cloud.
Brace yourself. Think you can get away? Barbados, kindness. Absorption test. Swirl.
Clouds high. The birds call. The wind knows me.
Time for takeoff. Let's play. Wind, hear me.
Fallen leaves. Adorn my night. Into the wind.
Go and fly. Yahoo! Think you can get away? Animal hyperstasis.
Wind strike.
I swear by my sword. Here we go.
As one with wind and
Think you can get away? Brace yourself. Animal hypostasis emulation. Animal test 6308.
into the wind. The wind knows me.
Absorption test.
Wind strike.
Yahoo! Go and fly. I swear by my sword.
One with nature. Fallen leaves. Adorn my night. The wind knows me.
Time for takeoff. Swirl, Mark 2.
Storm Fury.
Swear by my sword. Animal test 6308. Think you can get away? Let's play.
Fallen leaves, adorn my night.
Animal hyperstasis. Here we go. Wait, here. Time for takeoff.
Wind strike. As one with wind and cloud.
Brace yourself. Think you can get away? Barbados, guide us. Absorption test. Swirl.
Clouds high. The birds call. The wind knows me.
Time for takeoff. Let's play. Wind, hear me.
Fallen leaves, adorn my night into the wind.
Going flat. Yahoo! Think you can get away? What? Animal hyperstasis.
Wind strike.
I swear by my sword. Here we go.
As one with wind and cloud.
Time for takeoff. Brace yourself.
You are not welcome.
Ship on up. Gears of the storm.
Unsightly insects. Behold, that's... Cry louder. The wind rises.
Over here. Feel me. Gears of the storm.
Wretched vermin.
Care for a dance? Wait, dance with me. Animal test.
Be a good audience, won't you?
Into the wind. One with wind and cloud. The wind knows me.
Done yet. Think you can get away? Go and blend. I swear by my sword. Yahoo! Yeah. Time for takeoff.
Clouds high. The birds call.
Absorption test. Stand clear. Animal hypostasis. Let's play. Wind, hear me.
Hey, what's up guys? Genshin Impact just announced brand new weapons coming into the game in version 4.1 on the weapon banner accompanying Neviet and Hu Tao. Because of this, I want to talk about these weapons, how good or bad they are, as some of them genuinely are pretty insane and others are quite disappointing, talking about if you should go for them and on which characters you would use them. And with that said, let's get started. Alright, so as you guys can see, Genshin Impact officially released a blog post for the first part of the weapon banners, like the first part of 4.1, and they showed us 4 new weapons that are coming with this next banner. The first one is Neviet's weapon, Tomb of Eternal Flow, which looks pretty cool visually and gives you quite an insane amount of stats. This weapon gives 88% crit damage, as well as at refinement rank 1, 16% HP, and then up to 42% charge attack damage if your HP is constantly increasing or decreasing. In fact, you'll gain 14% for 4 seconds when you either gain HP or lose HP, and this will stack up to 3 times. This is a weird mechanic that is very like Fontaine, because there's a lot of HP changing mechanics in Fontaine, a lot of characters that can manipulate their HP. This might have something to do with the Hydra Archon, we don't know yet, and it very clearly will have something to do with Neviet's kit, who should be able to manipulate his own HP, as was hinted in the official live stream. If that wasn't enough, when you have 3 stacks of this, you will also gain 8 energy once every 12 seconds, which makes this a pretty superb stat stick if you can use all of the stats. Now, the problem is how many characters can make use of this weapon's effect, and we will cover that in a second, although I do have to say that just in general, the fact that this gives you 88% crit damage, having the same stats as the Aqua Simulacra bow, with a different effect of course, already makes it a baseline pretty powerful weapon, especially if you can make use of its effect, as obviously if not, just the crit damage, while it's still gonna be fine, it's a lot of stats, might not be as powerful as other catalysts that are also really good stat-wise, but have an effect that you can make use of. And so with that said, who can use this weapon? Well, obviously Neviet will be able to. It was very hinted in the trailer, and also with just this weapon's effect that he will scale with HP, as if not, why would this weapon give you HP? We know he's gonna use charge attack damage, and that he very likely will manipulate his own HP, or will synergize with characters that can. Because of that, this will clearly be the weapon made for him, and very probably his best in slot. Now, I do want to mention that if you are pulling on the weapon banner, there's a good chance you're getting the battle pass, and if you are, the sacrificial jade weapon, which is a weapon that has insane stats, I'll put it level 90 on screen now, while it doesn't currently really have a user in game, like there's no one that can really make use of all of these stats, there's no one that wants crit, HP, and EM, it is very safe to assume that Neviet will, which means that this will probably be a great option for him because of how many stats this gives you, like 36% crit rate, 32% HP, and 40 EM, and this is only at R1, with these stats doubling to 64% HP and 80 EM at refinement rank 5, which means that if this character, Neviet, can use all of these stats, then it will be a very similar option. Again, though, he's not out yet, so do keep that in mind. Don't take this as like factual yet, but it is worth option. Again, though, he's not before you pull for a signature, although I will say that if you are planning on playing Neviet, this catalyst does look very powerful, as there are so many stats you're gaining. With that in mind, for other characters, who can really make use of it? Well, as I said, pretty much any catalyst character can at least appreciate the crit damage that you're gaining. 88% crit damage is a lot, so even if you can't make use of the other stats, while there will oftentimes, or pretty much always, be a better option because of other 5 stars or high refinement 4 stars that can give you more total stats, the 88% crit damage will at least be useful. And so as a baseline, it will be viable for pretty much any damage dealing catalyst, but in order for it to be efficient and really strong, you want to make use of either the HP or the charge attack damage, or both. And in practice, there are quite a few catalysts that can spam charge attacks. Example is Wander, who can either normal attack or charge attack, and with a weapon like this, you would be leaning more towards charge attacking. Even someone like an on-field DI Miko can weave in charge attacks. Hazo can as well, although most of his damage comes from his skill. Yanfei and Klee are characters that can use charge attacks, and Ningguang weaves some in her rotations as well. With that in mind, this weapon clearly doesn't seem as versatile as some others when it regards to its effect. You need to make sure your HP is increasing or decreasing non-stop, and you want to be charge attacking, and then the other stats that you're gaining, HP and energy, while they are really useful if the character needs them, if they don't, they're mostly wasted. When you compare this to Aqua Simulacra, which just gives you a flat 20% damage against anything, that one will typically rank higher in most characters' weapon rankings, even if they're ones that don't need HP. For this weapon in particular though, I do have to say that it can be really good for charge attackers, provided they can manipulate their HP. While in practice, there's not too many characters other than probably Neviet that can do this, I do have a high suspicion that Fontaine characters will help you do this. I really think the Hydro Archon, Farina, will probably have HP changing mechanics, which kind of lines up with my prediction that Vermilion will be the best on every character. Jokingly, but hopefully seriously, please. But if this is true, this would then make this catalyst pretty good on a lot of characters, as I said, that want to be charge attacking. If you can consistently have this 42% charge attack damage on top of the crit damage you're gaining, then it can be really good for any of the charge attack characters we mentioned, even if it's not going to necessarily be their best in slot. It's still a ton of stats. And if you are purely spamming charge attacks on some of these characters, then it can be their best option. But as I said, the problem is that it's a very unique and like niche weapon that I personally think is mostly for Neviette. We're gonna have to see how Farina kind of impacts this, or how future Fontaine characters can make this weapon work. Just keep in mind that for Neviette, if you can make use of all of these stats, it'll probably be amazing. Although there are alternatives, like for example, the Battle Pass weapon. Whereas if not, it'll still be a decent option, just ranging from pretty strong, but there are better ones, to insane, depending on how many stats of the effect you can reliably proc and use based on which character has this equipped. Moving on though, to talk about these new 4-stars, which is mostly what I wanted to make this video about. First of all, we have the Attack on Titan sword, which is our first 4-star HP percent sword. Now, if we're up to me, the HP percent sword would have been a blacksmith weapon. I really wish there was a free-to-play HP scaling sword and not just a limited gacha one, but it's a gacha game, so whatever, I guess. And having an HP percent sword is a nice thing to finally get on a weapon that isn't the key. This is now going to be an insane stat stick, just a bunch of HP that you gain for free for sword characters that want this HP and that didn't really have any options outside of key. This is mostly going to be the case for Nilou, who can definitely make use of the 40% HP, and other characters like, for example, Kirara, if you want to maximize her shield, Layla, especially if you want to maximize her shield strength, although you can still go an energy recharge weapon for her to help spam your burst, but HP is obviously nice for her as well. And lastly, can be useful on Kuki because of its effect, which I'll read out very shortly. But for the most part, just having HP is already a good start, although its effect is a pretty cool one that will give you a ton of elemental mastery if you are either healed or heal others. This effect, called Sea Shanty, which is hilarious, will give you a stack lasting 30 seconds anytime you heal others or are healed, and then when you use your skill or burst, you will consume all of the symbols you have, gaining 40 elemental mastery and 2 energy for each. Now keep in mind this at refinement rank 1. At refinement rank 5, these stats will probably double to up to 80 elemental mastery and 4 energy per symbol. This adds up to 120 EM at R1 and 240 at R5. This buff will last for 10 seconds with a 15-second cooldown, and so while there is a bit of downtime here and you do need to set it up, there are 2 things you need to know about this sword. First of all, just the HP percent stat makes it already great and the best option on the characters that I mentioned, especially Nilou, just because, yeah, you can go like an EM weapon or a supportive weapon that can help buff your team, but in general, you really want HP on Nilou, so this can make it her best 4-star option. The second part of this sword, however, is the EM that you're gaining, and also energy, but mostly EM, that can be really nice for someone like Kuki if you can make use of all of the stats you're gaining. Regarding Kuki, keep in mind that she's a character whose healing will scale on HP primarily, and also some EM, and will primarily want elemental mastery in her meta teams to proc Hyperbloom. Because of that, this weapon can be good for a comfy playstyle if you need more healing, but if you are trying to maximize your elemental mastery, typically going for even a craftable like Iron Sting or other weapons like Zyphos Moonlight or Freedom Sworn will give you more elemental mastery. With that said, you can get up to 120 elemental mastery at refinement rank 1 and 240 at refinement rank 5, which can mean that it's a lot of EM on top of the comfy HP percent stat. The main difficulty here is making sure you proc the effect efficiently. For your first rotation, that means using your skill to heal and then using your burst once you have 3 symbols to gain the EM, and also understanding that you only have 10 seconds uptime out of 15 seconds. While I recommend this as an HP option for HP scaling characters, for Kuki, who mostly wants EM, it can be good, especially with the refinements where the EM you're gaining is very high. It can be a comfy option, but generally, just going for an EM stat stick would be a more consistent and easy option, whereas the new Dockhands Assistant can be a comfy option for healing, and still a viable one, especially with the refinements that I wanted to mention, even if it's not my personal favorite for her. In my opinion, this is a sword that is mostly made for HP scaling characters like Nilou, like Kirara, or even Layla, where you won't need refinements and where you can get a lot of value out of it. Overall, I'm pretty happy to get a 4-star HP sword. Just keep in mind that it's gacha, so if you already have better options or similar ones, you might not need to get it, but if you get it, it can be useful on a lot of the characters that I mentioned. Moving on, we have the portable power saw and HP scaling claymore, which is an HP scaling claymore. This means that not that many characters can use it, contrary to an HP sword, which we don't have and we really have been wanting, especially for someone like Nilou, Kirara, Layla, whatever, right? An HP claymore is not really as important. Now, before I move on, I did just remember that I saw people asking about this sword for Bennett. Please don't use this on Bennett. Base attack is more important than anything else on Bennett, with some exceptions, like sometimes you can use Fav or Freedom Sworn on him, but typically high base attack on Bennett means more attack you're buffing your team with through his burst. And then the second most important stat on him is energy recharge and not HP, even though HP does buff his healing, so not recommended for Bennett. But for this claymore, which we are talking about now, there are already other HP claymores that see little to no use. Think of like the Bell, but this weapon is a bit different. It gives you some elemental mastery on its effect when you're either healed or heal others, but with that in mind, it's still kind of whatever. If we were to look at claymore characters that can use this, most of these characters do not scale on HP. Like none of the characters I'm clicking on would really make use of this effect. You could argue that Sayu could use the EM, and like sure, but in general, this is like a Dory weapon where she can use the HP and the EM EM, so if you want to play Dory, then okay. But even Dory needs like a ton of energy recharge, so I would still go like Fav or Sac, generally speaking. Dea could use it. Obviously, she scales with HP and attack and EM if you're burgeoning, and ER and Dea. So she kind of has a lot of like a split scaling, and her kit works in so many different ways that you can't technically use so much on her. This weapon is no different. If you want the HP and you can make use of the EM, like if you're proccing Burgeon and want to maximize your field damage, then this can obviously be a fine option for her, especially if you're not relying on her burst and don't need energy. So it can be good for her, but outside of that, like even Cave, who can use EM, wouldn't really want this weapon. And then that's pretty much it in terms of who can use this relatively niche claymore. Now moving on, we have the last weapon, Ballad of the Boundless Blue, and this one is going to be an event weapon. This weapon will give you 565 base attack, which is a high base attack for a 4-star weapon, as well as 30% energy recharge, and then an effect that will increase your normal and charge attack damage when you hit an opponent with them. This can stack up to 3 times, and since it's an event weapon, it is safe to assume that everyone can get this refinement rank 5 for free, so we'll be doubling the stats here, as that's typically how R5s work, meaning that although while at R1 you would gain 24% normal attack damage and 18% charge attack damage, at R5, if this effect scales up how we assume that it will, you will gain up to 48% normal attack damage and 36% charge attack damage, which is honestly a lot. The main weird part of this catalyst is the ER stat, which I assume is going to be needed on a character like Neviette and probably Risley. This looks like a good free-to-play catalyst with those characters in mind, so probably going to be their free-to-play option for both Neviette and Risley. If you're planning on getting them and don't want to spend a lot on a weapon, then this is probably going to be just a great free-to-play option. And honestly, I am really impressed at the amount of stats you're gaining for a on-field DPS character if you can make use of the ER, as the stats are just insane: damage percent, energy recharge, and also a very high base attack. This weapon is one that is comparable to, for example, a Dodoko Tails, which is another event weapon with a similar effect, giving you less charge attack damage, only 32%, and no normal attack damage, but way more attack percent and no energy recharge. Now, the problem with this weapon, though, for the characters that are in game right now, aside from Neviette and Risley, of course, is that a lot of these on-field main DPS catalysts have one of two problems with this weapon. Either one, they don't need that much energy recharge from on-fielding in an optimal team. For example, Yenfei, while she can use ER, one, doesn't really rely on her burst, and two, can oftentimes just get enough energy from someone like Bennett and just being on field, generating particles, and not needing the 30% ER that you're gaining here. The same can be said with quite a few other main DPSs. Number two is that a lot of these characters also might not even rely on normal or charge attacks to do most of their damage. For example, Hazo or Yai Miko, while they can normal and charge attack, the main part of their damage will come from, for Hazo, for example, his elemental skill, and for Yai Miko, also her skill and her burst. Because of this, weapon does give you a lot of very useful stats. Unless you can make use of all of them, there will typically be a better catalyst option. Now, with that in mind, for someone like Wander and similar DPSs, energy recharge is not as valuable as crit rate, crit damage, or attack percent, as going for more damage over being able to burst every time it's up is more optimal for these characters. With that said, ER can still be useful. For Wander in particular, his second constellation is one where going energy recharge becomes much more viable, as his burst deals way more damage, and for the other characters, it can help alleviate your small ER needs and make it to where you need literally 0 on your substats, and it can just be kind of comfy to be able to spam your burst. With that in mind, when we look at specific examples, Yenfei and Klee typically will just get their burst back naturally. Ningguang will be ran with other Geo characters that will help her out, and we already mentioned Wander, and these are pretty much the characters that will rely on normal charge attacks for a big part of their damage. Because of this, I do still think that if you can make use of some of the ER, which these characters typically can, unless you already have enough on your substats, which you might by now, then for the most part, it is a good stat stick. But if you don't need the ER, while it's still fine, you have a lot of base attack and a lot of normal and charge attack damage, there will still be better options as your ER stat is wasted. When we compare this to a free-to-play weapon like Mappa Mare, at R5, you'll get the same base attack and 32% elemental damage bonus on top of EM on the stat. While the EM stat is wasted on a lot of characters, and even with that, it's still quite good, this 32% elemental damage bonus would be better on those characters that can't fully make use of this, like for example, Yai Miko, who can use the EM and wants the elemental damage bonus quite a bit more than she wants just normal or charge attack damage. Overall, I have mixed feelings about this event weapon. I think it's pretty good in terms of the high amount of raw stats you're gaining, probably having the future catalyst characters we're getting in mind, so you might want to use it on them, we'll see. But for the characters we have right now, hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be talking about one of the most broken 4-star characters in all of Genshin Impact, one who's been getting buffed update after update thanks to new reactions, artifacts, weapons, and even other characters that synergize well with her, and we are of course talking about Fischl. Fischl is insane for so many reasons that we're going to cover in this video, especially when you can use her new broken build, which is something that we're going to also cover, talking about how to best play and build Fischl and get the most value out of her. We're going to be covering her best artifacts, weapons, teams, constellations, and so much more. Everything you need to know about Fischl in one complete complete video. Before we begin though, as always, I want you guys to know that I do stream most nights on Twitch, link in the description if you're interested. And with that being said, let's get right into it. All right, so starting things off, what does Fischl do and why is she so powerful? Well, as you may know, Fischl is a character who summons a bird, Oz, and then this bird or raven will just shoot enemies, do a bunch of electro damage, and then also, thanks to one of Fischl's ascension passives, her A4, will be dealing extra electro damage and applying electro alongside your active character whenever they trigger an electro-related elemental reaction. Also, keep in mind that this passive talent is like the core part of Fischl's kit and actually doesn't have any internal cooldown on its electro application, meaning that every single time you trigger an electro-related reaction, as long as Oz is on field, he'll shoot some electro and reapply electro to the target, having synergy with even like Nahida's Mark, for example. But just in general, in any team that procs electro-related reactions, this Ascension 4 passive will be great at giving you more electro uptime and a ton of electro damage as well. This means that Fischl not only has great damage thanks to her bird, but also has amazing uptime on him. In fact, you can actually have like 100% uptime on Oz, who will be firing alongside your active character, constantly dealing high single target electro damage and reapplying the electro element to them whenever you trigger a reaction. This means that you can apply a lot of electro, proc a ton of reactions, and also generate a ton of energy for your entire team. Fischl's damage is very high, her energy generation is also very high, and the same can be said about her electro application. Fischl's also a character who needs little to no field time, as all you have to do is summon Oz with your elemental skill or re-summon Oz with your elemental burst, which, if you don't know, is an ability where you turn into a bird, can kind of fly around, but at the end of it, or if you cancel it early, Oz will be summoned wherever you are, basically meaning that your bird, Oz, your elemental skill, has even more uptime than you might think. While Night Rider is an ability that without constellations lasts for 10 seconds with a 25-second cooldown, you can re-summon Oz for another 10 seconds when you use your elemental burst, which only has a 15-second cooldown. If that wasn't enough, well, we'll talk about Fischl's constellations very shortly. Her C6 adds an extra layer of how broken Fischl can be by not only giving you significantly more damage, but also increasing your Oz's uptime by 2 seconds, meaning that when you summon him, it'll actually be for 12 seconds, giving you even more uptime on Oz, assuming you're using your skill and your burst one after the other, spacing them out to where you're not just using skill and then burst, but skill, then you kind of swap out of her, and then when Oz is about to expire, you swap back, then use your burst, re-summoning Oz, and giving him a very, very high uptime, effectively 100% or close to it, in the sense that Oz will basically always be out there when you are DPSing on your on-field character. And while I said I'd talk about constellations later, I do think it's worth mentioning that while Fischl is still broken without constellations, since she's a character who's been around since patch 1.0, there's a good chance you've been accumulating a lot of Fischl constellations, and if you manage to get all the way to C6, Oz will not only have more uptime, but will also perform coordinated electro attacks alongside your on-field character when they normal attack, giving you even more electro application and damage. Other things to know about Fischl are that her burst does do a single hit of electro damage, which is relatively high, has an energy cost of 60, and then also when you summon Oz, there is a summoning damage at the start, and then Oz will be dealing damage scaling on your Fischl's attack, and he can also crit, by the way, alongside your active character all the time, even if your Fischl is off field. Also, something else I wanted to add is that your Oz does snapshot, so when you summon him, all of the buffs that your Fischl has, as soon as you are summoning him, will snapshot and last for his entire duration. Do keep in mind though that every time you re-summon Oz on Fischl, which you can do to reposition him, it will refresh the snapshot as well, which is useful to note. If you ever buff your Fischl after summoning Oz, you can kind of re-summon him to snapshot the buffs onto him. And snapshotting is generally just a good thing, as it can make it to where buffs that would otherwise expire won't and will last for the ability's entire duration until your Oz disappears or is re-summoned. Fischl also has another passive talent that's mostly useless. Basically, if you charge shot Oz, he'll deal some AoE electro damage, but it's not really worth doing this charge shot as it's almost always a loss in DPS, so you can mostly ignore this. And it's the other parts of her kit that really make her shine as a support. And I know I'm saying support because she kind of is. You just use your skill or your burst and then swap, but the amount of damage she deals makes her a basically off-field DPS in pretty much any team that can fit her. Any team that wants an electro unit will almost always want Fischl as either the best option or one of the best options. The main exception being Hyperbloom, but even there you can use her as the amount of electro she applies and the damage she deals is very, very high. Moreover, Fischl is also an amazing battery. Her electro energy generation is actually so high that she's usually the best battery for any electro character, like notably Beto, who's incredibly powerful but wants another electro character to give her energy, allowing her or any other electro character you may be using to run a lot less energy recharge and thus build more offensive stats. But that's not all. She also generates so much energy that even characters that aren't electro can use her as a battery, as she's generating so many electro particles that even a Dendro character, for example, can make use of the energy you're generating, even if it's not the correct element per se. It's still a lot of energy and makes her a very good battery. And so for all those reasons, Fischl has always been an amazing character who's been getting better and better, not just thanks to the release of Dendro, but also a ton of new weapons, characters, and also the most recently recently, and part of the reason why I'm making this video, thanks to a brand new artifact set that gives her sometimes even a 20% increase in damage compared to her other builds, which is just another official buff that is absolutely insane. For Vigil's talent priority, in case it wasn't obvious, you want to maximize your Oz, level him as high as you can, as Oz is someone who deals a ton of damage, he can crit, and just really will carry your official. And even when you resummon Oz with your burst, it is your Oz's scalings from your Knight Rider talent that will be factored in, as leveling your burst only increases your burst's initial hit of damage, which can still be worth leveling, but primarily focus on your Knight Rider as your main priority. You can ignore your normal attacks unless you play her as a main DPS, but typically level your skill and then your burst. And so everything I've said so far applies to basically a C0 official, with the only exception being what I said about C6, which is why I want to say that even at C0, official is amazing, but she does also have one of the strongest 6 constellations in the game, at least for 4-star characters, not 5 stars obviously, and that is something that I want to talk about right now. In fact, for official's constellations, well, as I said, don't want people to think they can only use her with constellations, as she is just a great support overall. She's one who definitely increases your burst talent level. I'm making this video. Initial hit of damage, which can still be worth leveling, but primarily focus on your Knight Rider. I want to say, don't want when is a set that was designed, in my opinion, for official, or one that very clearly screams official, as it basically just gives you 70% elemental skill damage for free when you're using the 4-piece. The 2-piece will give you 20%, and then the 4-piece gives you a flat 25%, and then another 25% when you're off field, with this effect clearing 2 seconds after you take field. But official's a character who doesn't want to be on field for that long. As an off-field support, you kind of summon Oz, then swap out, so even when you do go back to her, it's only for a second or two, meaning that you basically always will have 70% damage bonus to your Oz, which is the vast majority of your damage. This set is basically a official buff. It's usually 10 to 20% better than another set you can run on her, which is insane, as even before this set came out, official was already one of the most powerful supports, a broken 4-star honestly, and now she's even better thanks to a set that just gives her way more damage. And so there really is no contest here. Go for the 4-piece Golden Troop. It's a pretty efficient domain to farm, especially if you want the Maréchaussée set for other Fontaine characters, and the Golden Troop can also be used on other characters as well, so I highly recommend farming this set for official, as it's part of her new broken build. With that in mind, if you don't have this set yet or have better substats and want to use another set, there are viable ones like 4-piece Thunder Soother if you can maintain the Electro uptime, 4-piece Gilded Dreams, especially in teams like Aggravate where you can really use the Elemental Mastery, or mix and matching basically any offensive 2-piece of either attack, electro damage, skill damage, or EM, again in Dendro teams. But generally speaking, I highly recommend getting this new Golden Troop set, as it's amazing on official. Before moving on, however, I did want to at least mention that you can go for the 4-piece Tenacity of Millith if you just want to play your official as an off-field, like, supportive character who's buffing your party members by giving them attack. And while there is situations where this is optimal, especially with a very low investment official, I personally think official deals so much damage that it's kind of a waste to not invest into it. Like, I really think a large portion of many teams' damage, especially Aggravate teams, comes from official, where she can sometimes even do more than your on-field character, to where going for a supportive set, while it can be viable, in my opinion, isn't usually as recommended as going for a set that really focuses on her damage, like Golden Troop, which, as I said, is absolutely broken on official. All right, now next up for the stats you want on official, I want to start by saying that I did initially plan on recording this section when I had a good 4-piece Golden Troop, just to show that, but I've spent thousands of resin here, so I'm using a 2-piece for now, so excuse that if you can. But with that in mind, the stats that you want on official are pretty straightforward. The first thing you need to know is that both Oz and official's Ascension 4 passive, which is kind of Oz as well, can crit, okay? So your Oz, your skill, can crit, which means that looking for crit rate and crit damage will be very important on official, even if you're just trying to maximize your Oz's damage while your official's off field. Because of this, the main stats you're looking for are crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and then sometimes a bit of energy recharge depending on your team. Usually not a lot, with the typical recommended range being around 100 to 120 ER. Really not a lot. It's not the main thing you're looking for, but in some teams, if you want to be able to burst and have 100% uptime on your Oz, then you might need a few substats of energy recharge depending on how much energy your team comp generates. Keep in mind that official does generate a lot herself, and you oftentimes will run her with, for example, another electro character, or with the quicken reaction, which gives you energy, so you typically don't need that much ER. Lastly, Elemental Mastery is also a good substat in specific reaction teams, like notably Aggravate. When official is going to be aggravating, Elemental Mastery can be about as good as attack percent, sometimes a bit better, sometimes a bit worse. Typically, EM and attack are about as good as one another when you are aggravating, so keep that in mind as well. Because of this, those are the stats you're looking for on your substats, with crit being your main focus, but attack and EM if you're aggravating are also good, alongside a bit of energy recharge. charge. With that in mind, for your main stats, what you're looking for is the following. Generally, crit rate or crit damage on your circlet, depending on which one you need more of, trying to get a 1-to-2 crit rate to crit damage ratio, electro damage bonus on your goblet, always being the best option, and attack percent or elemental mastery on your sands. Generally, the most flexible sands for most builds is attack percent. It's great without Dendro, and then even with Dendro, it's about as good as elemental mastery. Again, this depends on your substats and your weapon, but it's usually either a bit better or a bit worse than EM, with the deciding factor typically being your substats. So generally speaking, I would recommend attack percent if you don't want to think too much about what you're doing on your official and just want a generic sands to go for. But if you're playing official with Dendro reactions like Quicken or Aggravate, then elemental mastery sands, as I said, is a perfectly viable and about as good option, making it to where I'd recommend going based on your substats. If you have better substats on an EM sands, then go for that. If you have better substats on an attack sands, then go for that instead, with attack percent always being the recommended option in non-aggravate teams. All right, now moving on for official's best weapons, you'll be happy to hear that she has a ton of really good options for every type of player, great 5 stars, 4 stars, and free to play options that you can use depending on what you have. The first thing I want to disclose though is that official's weapon ranking, how good a specific weapon is for her, will depend based on if you're playing her in a Dendro or a non-Dendro team, as while most of the weapons that are good in one will also be good in the other. A stat like elemental mastery is much stronger when you are aggravating with your official, when you're playing her with Dendro, versus when you're playing her without Dendro. And so generally speaking, here are the best options for official. As her general best in slot, 5 stars like Polar Star or Akka Simulacra are typically the two go-tos. They're about as good in strength, Polar Star being a bit better when you're not aggravating, but just in general, both of these weapons are great, amazing stat sticks with effects that'll give you more damage. This is true even if you're not fully stacking a weapon like Polar Star, as even with just 1 or 2 stacks, it is still great and will give you immense amounts of value. Other 5-star weapons like the Skyward Harp, Thundering Pulse, or even Linny's Bow are great options as well, once again as just stat sticks for your official, giving you a ton of crit, attack, and just everything you can ask for. With that in mind, there are also 4-star options that are similar to 5 stars depending on your playstyle, with these weapons being Stringless and also Alley Hunter. These two weapons are great for official, as Alley Hunter will give you a high base attack, some attack percent, and then increase your damage when you're off field, which is good for official as she doesn't really want to be on field anyways. At refinement rank 1, you'll gain 20% damage, with this doubling to 40% at refinement rank 5. Similarly, Stringless will also give you just a ton of damage, 48% elemental skill damage if it's fully refined, and half of that if you're refinement rank 1, with it just being a great staple 4-star option for your official. Do note that Stringless does get quite a bit better in aggravate teams though when you play official with Dendro, as the elemental mastery stat will then also be a strong part of this weapon on top of the high skill damage that you're gaining. Even in non-Dendro teams though, Stringless is a great 4-star option, with it being incredible in Dendro teams, like genuinely a refinement rank 5 Stringless in a Dendro team, if you can make use of the EM and its effect, is going to be about as good as the 5-star options, usually just a bit worse. Similarly, Alley Hunter will perform about as good, usually better in non-Dendro teams as it gives you attack instead of EM, and not too far behind in Dendro teams, making these your 2 best 4-star go-to options. Now on top of just that though, we've actually gotten a new free-to-play weapon this patch, the Song of Stillness from the Fontaine Blacksmith that you can craft and refine for free. Song of Stillness and Prototype Crescent are now going to be the 2 sort of go-to free-to-play options for official. Prototype Crescent giving you a bunch of attack when you shoot a weak point, so if you can proc its effect, then it can be a good stat stick, whereas Song of Stillness can actually also be amazing and in my opinion more consistent. Although you still have to proc its effect, you need to heal your official to gain the pretty high amount of damage percent when it's fully refined, 32% damage, which is great in both Dendro and non-Dendro teams, as an 8-second buff once your official gets healed. Now through my testing, I found that this works even with overhealing, so even if your official is full HP, so long as you just heal her a bit and then summon Oz. With weapons that have effects that buff you, do keep in mind and remember the fact that your Oz snapshots, meaning that you want to make sure you buff your official before summoning Oz or re-summoning him as soon as you get buffed to make sure that he actually can get these buffs and deal more damage. I think Song of Stillness is going to be the generic go-to free-to-play bow for most people, as while Prototype Crescent can sometimes be better, a lot of enemies don't have weak points. It also requires you to charge shot and can be a bit annoying to use, whereas the new bow, while yes, you still have to make sure you're healing yourself, as long as you have a healer in your team, you can get a lot of value out of it, especially if you can fully refine it and get that 32% damage bonus. Keep in mind that Official's 4th Constellation will also heal her after using your burst. Just be sure to resummon Oz after proccing its effect to make sure you're buffed. Other good options include the Viridescent Hunt, or even technically the new Battle Pass option, or other event weapons as free-to-play options if you have them, like Freighting Twilight for some damage percent and a high base attack, especially if you need the ER that it gives you, or Windbloom's Ode for some EM and attack percent as well. I did also want to mention that Official can technically use the Elegy for the end if you have it laying around in order to buff your team by giving them EM and attack percent. This can be the best for some teams' overall DPS, but it's not what I recommend in general, especially if you can use Elegy on another character that can make use of the ER, as you do lose out on a lot of Official's personal damage this way, but it can be a viable and sometimes strong option. Overall, I think it's very straightforward. Fischl's best weapons are very clearly either 5 stars that you have that are good stat sticks, Stringless or Alley Hunter as really good 4-star options, especially with refinements, but even just in general, and then the free-to-play options with either Prototype Crescent or the Song of Stillness, the new one that I personally really like, provided you can make use of their effects and ensure that you are snapshotting them, summoning Oz after you get buffed. Alright, now moving on, let's talk about Fischl's best teams and the characters she synergizes the most with. Well, as I've said multiple times in this video, Fischl can be played in basically any team that wants an Electro support. She can be used in both Dendro and non-Dendro teams, so that's what we'll cover right now. For her non-Dendro teams, all of the Electro reactions like Electrocharged, Superconduct, or even Overload are ones where Fischl can be used as one of, if not the best supportive option. For Electrocharge teams, these are ones where Fischl actually shines in pretty much any way you can imagine. First of all, she gives you a lot of Electro application and a ton of single target damage, synergizing very well with the other characters you're playing here. Examples of these characters that synergize with Fischl are, first of all, Xingqiu, who also has a ton of single target damage, but on his end is Hydro, and then Hydro and Electro together obviously will spam Electrocharge, make them very good with one another. Beidou, much like a lot of other Electro characters, is not just a really strong carry, but also will benefit greatly from the energy that Fischl will give you. And then lastly, Sucrose will be able to buff your damage greatly by swirling Electro and also Hydro in this team, increasing your team's overall damage, being your on-field driver, auto-attacking, swirling Electro, swirling Hydro, and synergizing very well with characters like Fischl and this team comp in general. In a team like this, Sucrose can run the Verdescent Veneer set and the Hakushin Ring, or even Thrilling Tales, and Fischl really does shine here by just giving you a ton of damage and a lot of Electro application and also particles. For Superconduct teams, basically any physical carry wants an Electro support and a Cryo one or a Cryo character, and Fischl's usually just the best option. Same with Overload if that's something you want to play, or Over Vape, where you're running a Hydro character alongside an Electro and a Pyro to vaporize and overload simultaneously. If that wasn't enough though, Fischl doesn't just synergize with Electro reactions, but also with carries that have a flex slot. So basically any Electro carry that wants an Electro battery with them or can fit another Electro character in their team will usually want Fischl, as I said, the best or one of the best options. And then even carries that aren't Electro that have just a flex slot in their team can use Fischl for just good results. Even someone like Xiao, who doesn't really proc reactions, when ran with someone like Farzan and Bennett, has a very flexible last slot where Fischl can actually be a good option. Yeah, you might want her in another team, and yeah, there's other options like Zhongli or a third Anemo character, but Fischl is usually just a great flex slot with pretty much any carry. Unless, of course, the Electro that she gives will ruin a reaction you're trying to proc. Like, you won't use Fischl in something like a Nilou Bloom team or a Freeze team or something, but outside of those, she can really flex into any team comp. Other synergies she has, though, is with Dendro, which is part of the reason why I'm making this video as well. Fischl synergizes incredibly well with Dendro reactions, such as Quicken for both Aggravate or Spread teams, and also somewhat Hyper Bloom if you're pairing her with an Anemo character who can proc the Hyper Blooms for you. In fact, if you're playing Fischl in a Quicken team, you can either Aggravate or Spread, usually doing both of these reactions simultaneously, and then you can pair her with either an Electro or a Dendro carry. Aggravate teams like Aggravate Kaching are incredibly powerful, and in this team, Fischl can sometimes do even more damage than your carry like Kaching, or at least a similar amount, being really powerful together. Great synergy in the team. You have a Dendro character to apply the Quicken aura on enemies, letting your Electro characters proc Aggravate, deal more damage with this reaction, and also running another supportive option like an Anemo one like Kazu or Sucrose to give you a ton more damage by swirling Electro, or someone like Zhongli for resistance shred, or just anyone who can fit this role, typically being an Anemo option. You can run so many different Electro characters this way, like even Yai or Sino, whom Fischl will have very good synergy with. The same can be said for Dendro carries, where you'll be a spread Aggravate damage to many of your Dendro cores. Dendro teams in general, notably Spread and Aggravate in particular with characters like Kaching, and also non-Dendro teams like all of the ones we saw previously, with my personal favorites being Taser or Electrocharge, and also pretty much any Dendro team.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope this fiscal guide was helpful, and as always I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.